let me go through the Figma interface quickly. If you're a beginner, this might be a little bit confusing, but I just hope you try and understand. So if you open the Figma interface the very first time, you have your properties panel at the right side. Now this section gives you the option to toggle between design, prototype, and then inspect. Now prototype to create interactive connection between your screen, design to do the necessary stuff, and then inspect is normally for developers when you're handing over your stuff to them and you don't want them to probably edit some of your files. They just go through the inspect option to see how the stuff is. When you go to inspect, you get to see the properties of this particular element in the Figma frame and then the CSS properties of iOS or Android. So that's for the property panel. Then on your left you have your, oh, this has moved now, sorry, let me move it up. You have your toolbar where on default it's turned on for the move tool, but then you have the option to change it to the frame, the shape, the pen tool, the text tool, the hand tool, and then the comment section, which is my favorite. And then you have your pages here. You can add as many pages as you want to organize your files well. Then you have your layers panel down here. So if you're familiar with Photoshop, Affinity Designer, Illustrator, you know what the layers panel is. Then we have your assets section where you can just go and then pick up components from. Then you have your avatar itself and then the share icon to share your design file for feedback. Then you have this play button, which is used to switch to the prototype mode or preview your design in the prototype view. So let me just get right into it. So whilst designing, I'll be walking you through some of the stuff, how to use some of the tools. So let me try and join from my other device 1 second. Where is it? Okay, so normally the first thing you would do is gather the components you're going to use for that particular project. For this particular one, I just had to put together the icons, but then sometimes you would want to put your buttons and then your images all together in this particular section. So this is how I group my design file. I have a cover page, then I have a section where I put all my assets, my components, then I have a particular place where I do my dirty work. Let me open a typical design file and show you how I structure my file. Okay. Figma, come on, load. All right, so you realize I have a cover page where I give the title of that particular project. You can do that so that you keep your Figma dashboard very clean. Then I have a component section, I have a mood board, I have a wireframe section. Then I have my workspace. I don't want to go there to do the design, but I have my workspace where I do my actual designs for that project. Then I have the final design section where once I'm done designing on my workspace, I move everything to the final design. So at this section, this is where the clients will be viewing. Reason being that sometimes in your workspace, you'll be moving things around, trying to maybe combine two shades. It'll be all nasty and all over the place. So you don't want the client viewing that particular page. So this is the page I give them, and then I have a sandbox. Now my advice is when you're designing, never trash a particular screen away, in the sense that maybe after some time that screen might be needed. For example, you did a screen and then the clients were like, we don't really like this, or maybe the screen didn't come out good at that particular time, but then maybe after 3 days you realize that, oh, this screen was actually serving a purpose, but then we didn't notice. You didn't want to now come and do it all over again, because you might have forgotten, right? I mean, the human brain is not that good. Or let me just talk for myself. Mine is not that powerful to remember stuff like that, so we just keep it in the sandbox. So I keep all the dirty stuff here, or things I don't want to delete at that page. So for this particular project, the two screens we are going, yes please, is being recorded. So for this particular screens, the only things I have here are my icons. Now another thing I do is, because I don't want to be jumping all outside Figma to download icons, I go to my Figma community and look for Iconly, right? Yes. I look for Iconly and other icon packages, and then I duplicate them into my file. So you can do that. You can just duplicate them and then have them in your Figma project. So since I have it already, let me just go back to my Figma and then I'll open Iconly. Good. Now I open Iconly, and since every single icon in this particular Figma file is a component, what you can do is that everything here is a component. So what you can do is that you can publish it as a library. Now, what does publishing as a library means? Basically means that when I publish this, it becomes accessible in every single Figma file I open within my Figma account. So I can publish this. Okay, I have to move it to a theme. So let me just do that. Icons. So once it's moved into a theme, they show you all the components you have in this file, and then they are telling you that you are publishing 600 of 600 changes. So once I publish this, I can access this file from everywhere in my Figma account. And it's a good thing because you don't want to be switching between tabs to come and look for a particular icon here. So now in the main Figma file we are working in, you go to assets, then you go to where you have this little book here. It's called theme library. Then now we can turn on and turn off all the libraries we have. So there's a design system I'm using. I turn it on so that I can just access every single component from that design system in here. Then I have what I call Regan's icon. I've placed together about 6 different icon packages so that there's varieties. So when I turn this on, I have every single, so you can realize that there's 1,974 components in this particular Figma file. For a second I forgot my math. So you realize there are other theme libraries here I can toggle on: Figma icons, iOS kit, and all this will just be accessible within this file. So now when I go to search, I can just search anything. Let's say we are looking for a notification icon. Notification. Once we search this, Figma is going to give me every single component that's named notification in that particular library I published. So this is a good thing to do so that you don't move out of your Figma to go and download icons from other places. So you realize there are so many ones over here. All right, so let's just get right into it. One main thing I'll need, let me pick one component from this section. Just ignore this, it's not really important. I just like to design with the iOS home tab and then the status bar. All right, so this is what we are going to be designing. And one last thing, holding command on Mac. For Windows I don't know, but holding command and hitting dot will take away everything on the Figma interface, so you just get to see the canvas, which is good for presentation sometimes, so that you get the focus on what you want to actually show to the users. So let me bring that back and move this away. So we are going to start our design now. If I'm moving fast, you can let me know in the comment section. If you have any question, you can put it in the comment section as well. All right, so now we are going to design. I spoke about the toolbar, right? So the toolbar, we have the first one, which is the move tool. Now this section has 2 embedded tools in one. So you see there's a little arrow that is bouncing a little, very subtle. So when I go there, I see scale, which helps you to scale a particular design element without having to disturb the proportional scale, how they call it, shrink it or something. For example, I have a text called this. Okay, if I use this, it's not going to work. Okay, let me use a rectangle. I can scale this down proportionally, so you realize that it's scaling and still keeping it as I want. But when I use the move tool, it's going to just reduce the size or reduce the height or the width depending on what part you are expanding. Another example, let me try and get a good example. Where's the design we have here? Okay, good. Another example is this. You see what is happening? Let me move this out here. Using the move tool, when I try to expand this, it's just expanding the frame and leaving the design over there. But then using the scale tool, which is the keyboard shortcut is K, using that I can expand this and then the design expands without anything being distorted or anything. The only problem with this is some of the font size might be in decimal value, so you can see here 34.87 and so on and so forth. But if you scale something up, just go inside and then manually edit them. Then you have the frame tool and then the slice. You have the shape tool, which has other option under it, so line, arrow, so on and so forth. Then you have your pen tool, which I'm not so good at using, so I barely use it. Then you have your text tool. Then you have your hand tool, which is to move your frame around, but you would probably not be using it a lot. You will just be using your cursor, but it's also good. Then the comment section, which is good for leaving feedbacks and all that. So let's start. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to get a frame. Now my best option is normally 375 by 812, which is an iPhone 13 or an iPhone X, so you can just pick any of this. So we are going to pick this. We're going to pick this, and I think I copied the iPhone stuff, the time and all that. You can get that from the Figma community as well. Just search iOS kit and you're good to go. All right, so let's get the design as a reference over here. I'd prefer, okay, so that we know what we are doing. Oh, you know what now? Okay, so this is our home page. So we'll rename this to home. I'll be probably using a lot of shortcuts, so sorry about that. But Command R would help us rename this whole frame. And what we are going to get is we need a location icon. So let me just search location over here. Okay, I want the one that is bold, but let me pick this and show you guys something. But let's turn on our layout grid. So I'll be going with a 4-column grid and then a margin of 20 pixels. You can go with 16. I think that should be like your lowest. Then I'm going to go with a 14 pixel. All right, I don't like this icon, so let's look for iconly. Let's look for iconly. All right, perfect. And look for location. So this is it. So I'm going to shrink those down to 14 pixels. Now one thing you can do is, let me undo. One thing you can do is you can turn on constraint proportions. Now what happens is when I enter 14 here, automatically the height will also be set to 14, so I don't have to enter for both. If you don't do that and you enter the value here, you have to go and type for the other one. That was what I did first. But if you want to move faster, you can just type 14 for one section and then you are good to go. So we need 14 here. Then I'm going to type in your location. Oops, that was gigantic. Now the font size for this is going to be somewhere around 14. That should be okay. Now using auto layout, I'm going to group them. You can use your group to group them, but then I really like auto layout, so we are going to hit Shift A to group this together. Okay, good. The next thing, we need the text Accra, Ghana. If you want to see the final results for the design, you can just check my Instagram and probably maybe follow along. I'll make this 16. Then I'll need an arrow. I need an arrow. Good. So I'll just pick this over here. So you realize how good this is. I don't have to go outside Figma to pick icons. So now I'll just do auto layout again. Now grouping this, auto layout centered it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my auto layout section over here and then move it to the side or left align, any section of the side, but the best is here, the middle one. Then next thing, I'm going to reduce the spacing between them. So they are 13 pixels away if you look over here. So I'm going to reduce that to about 6. All right, then I'll change the color, but for now let's just get this. Next thing I'm going to need is a profile icon over here. I'm going to make that 44 pixels, then match it to align it with this. Then next we need a notification icon from our icon notification. Let me turn off some of this. Good. All right, notification. Let's pick this. Then if you look at the design, you realize that we have a little red circle to denote maybe like things like you have a notification or something of that sort. So you can put that there as well. So I'll pick my colors from here. I'm not going through those stuff because of time, so hopefully you get it. I'm going to group this and then group these two together as well, and then reduce the spacing to 16. Move it to my margin. Okay, so we have this section here. Now I already saved the colors we are going to use as color styles. Now what does color style mean? Let me go through that quickly. Color style basically means that I get to save a particular color in my Figma file, reuse it everywhere in my project, and then the moment I edit that color style, the changes affect every single element that had that color. This is it. So we have this rectangle, and then maybe it has this color. Whatever this color is, we can go to where we have these 4 dots, click on it, click on our plus, and then we'll save it as color. Right now I'm going to create other shapes and then give them the same color, Good. Now let me create a last shape and do something. What other shape? Polygon. Now for this shape, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use the color star. I'm going to paste the hex code for this particular color here. Now let's say your client comes back after 2 weeks and they're like, oh, our company changed their brand color, so we want you to change this color from this is pink, right, whatever, to let's say a green. Let me do this one. So let's say a green. This is what is going to happen. We can come to our color styles, hit this thing over here, what's it called, edit style here, and then go to where we have our X value and then change the color. Now look at what will happen once I'm changing the color. It's affecting every single shape that had a color except this triangle, because that triangle did not have the color style. Rather, it had that same color, but then it was the hex code that was just pasted. So color style is one good thing, because you don't want to have about 100 screens to go through each one and then go and edit them one by one. Now in certain scenarios, what you can do is you can detach the color style from this. What does that mean? It means you can disconnect the two. You can disconnect this color from the color style by just hitting this icon over here, and then now this becomes just like this bad boy here. So now when we go to our color style and then we change the color, it doesn't affect that star anymore. So it's a powerful thing if you don't want to waste a lot of time. So I've already done that. So I'm going to change this to that blue, the light blue we used. Then I'll change my location icon to the primary color we are using. Then I'll change this to a gray. Then I'll keep this. I'll use the black I have over here. Good. Now there are so many naming conventions when it comes to colors, but that's like a simple way to go about it, especially if it's a very smaller project. Next thing we want to do, we need to get explore. Let me do this one. Explore the beautiful world, and then an emoji. Let's add an emoji. I'll make this about 20 pixels. Okie dokie. Alright, then now we need a search bar. Now I'm going to create this whole search bar using auto layout, so kindly pay attention and follow. So first we need a text, search for a place. That should be 14 pixels. Then I'll look for a search icon here. I like the assets panel so much, it's very useful. I'll bring in this, I'll make this 20 pixels. Then I need a filter icon. Okay, good. Now for this, I'm also going to give it 20 pixels. Now if you look at the design, this filter icon is in a circle which has a very light background, so I'm going to create that. So I'm going to hit Shift A to create an auto layout. So you realize that once I hit Shift A, this auto layout section is introduced on my properties panel. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the color first. So we'll go and add our color so that we can see what we are doing. And I'll change the black color to the blue. Oh, not this blue, the main primary blue color. Good. Then now this is 24 pixels by 24 pixels. I don't want it that way. I want this whole frame here to be 40 pixels. Now if you do your math well, you should know what you're supposed to add to each side. So let's try and see. If I add 10 here, it works. If I had 10 here, it works. So 40 pixels by 40 pixels. If you're bad at math, you would have to do it, calculate it a lot. So now we have that. Then now we are going to connect these two. So I'm going to hit Shift A, connect this, and then reduce this to about 12 pixels. And then because it doesn't look centered, let me check left side. Okay, it doesn't look centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this line over here a little, and then I'll have it centered over here. All right, what do we need to do again? Oh, before that, let me change the background. This is not supposed to be a full white, so I'll change it to, I think what, let me just confirm from here. All right, F8, so let me use that and then save it. Background. All right, so next thing I want to do is still this. We've already hit Shift A, so we are going to add paddings because we want it to be about 50 pixels. So I'm going to hit 20 here. That takes me to 60. So 16 works. All right, 15 here. 15 works. Now let's add a white color so that we can see what we are actually working on. Now a little math here again. This whole frame is of size 375, right? 375. I give it a margin of 20 pixels from the left and right, which is 40 in total, which means my working space is 335. So if you our search field is supposed to extend from this line here to this line here, which means automatically this is going to be 335. So I'm going to change from hard content to fixed width. Now what that means is that fixed width gives me the opportunity to edit the width of that particular auto layout. Now when you have it as hard content, you can't edit it. The only thing you can play around with is the padding at the top and down, left and right, and then the space between. So we'll change this to fixed width and then go with 335, and I'll give it fully rounded. Now to make sure that's very smooth, what we are going to do is you look carefully here. We are going to do what we call corner smoothing, and that's going to is going to make this smooth. Let me change the color. I want you guys to see this. So there's this little break from this side to the end. So if you use corner smoothing, it makes the breakage from where it starts to curve very smooth. So always have it on if you want to use corner smoothing. advisable. All right, now what do we need? We realize that we need some spacing here, so which means we need to add padding to our left side of the design. But remember, I'm going to bring in this filter section in my auto layout, so I'll paste it here. Now you see what happens, it enlarges, which means we need to reduce our padding for both the top and down. Okay, 5 works. All right, next thing, if you're a beginner, sorry, this is very complicated. Next thing is I'm going to change this to what we call space between. Now space between basically means that Figma is going to spread what you have to the far left and far right, basically in simple terms. So I'm going to go here and then change this to space between, and you realize that it moves to the far left and then the far right, and then this is left in the middle. But since I want the search and this to be together, I'm going to create them as an auto layout again, reduce the value to 12, select my auto layout, give it a padding on the left and right at 16. Alright, 16 is too much, so 12 should do. Yeah, I think this is okay. Yeah, this is okay. Then now we can change the color for these things. If this piles on top of your head, I'm sorry. Rewatch it again to just get an understanding of it. Okay. So let's move this up a little. Now the next thing we need is the tags. So just like we did for this auto layout here, we can create that using auto layout again. So for that we need icon and a text, an icon and a text. So I'll just pick a star icon here. Then I'll type in recommended. The beauty of auto layouts. Daniel, what's a great size for the mobile app? Okay, let me finish this and then go back to that. So I would put this as auto layout again. Like my whole design is full of auto layout, so try and understand me. Then I'll give it a fill, and then this is 12 pixels, right? This should be 12. Give it a fill, give it about 6 pixels here. I'll center this, and then give it about let me say 8 here. Good. Then I'll give it a fully rounded corner. Okay, so let me do this. So let me make this 12. All right. Now next thing, I'm going to give the fill a blue color and then change this to white. So I'll just type F here, then I'll type F here, and then everything is good to go. Let me extend this a little again, 16. Now look at what happens. 2020. Look at what happens when we start typing another thing here, like popular. You realize that it shrinks, or let me say it's going to grow and expand based on what we are typing here. And that's why I like auto layout so much, because it's very powerful. So what is happening right now is that Figma is keeping the values we give here, which is 8 to the top and down, 16 to the left and right. Now once that happens, no matter what you type in this item, in this particular element, 16 pixels is going to be left on the left and right, and then 8 pixels is going to be left on the top and bottom. So that's good. Now I'm going to switch the colors again. I need white for the background, so let me do this. Before that, let me change this white to ash, then I'll change this to white. So using auto layout again, we can group them, and then I'll use the same icon for now because of time, and then just expand them. So okay, right. Now one thing when it comes to designing these things, that you don't want to, especially when you have a scrollable carousel or tags or something, you don't want everything to be, let me do it this way. 14. You don't want only 3 of them to show because you wouldn't be communicating to the user that there are more items there. A normal user will probably scroll because that's what they're expecting, but then I read an article somewhere, and it's advisable to show at least a little tip of the last tag or a tag at this section so that people know that, oh, there's something hidden at that side. So you realize that I show this end here so that they know that, hey, there's something going over there. When it comes to the carousel, you realize the same thing. The first card is fully showing, and then the second card, a part of it is showing. So the user knows that, hey, I need to scroll at this section. So I'll just give this 24 pixels. Now, one thing I forgot to mention was, okay, Daniel's question. This is the grid we are using, a 4-column grid with margin 20 and then gutter 20. That's normally what I use. You can use that as well. Normally what I'm making use of is the left and the right. I don't really care about the center side. I use my eye to do that. So okay, so I was going to say something. What was I going to say? Yes, most of my things are normally in even numbers because they are easy to calculate. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then you are good. You don't have to stress yourself a lot. So we are going to design the card, which is the interesting part. Okay, so let's get to that. So I need a frame. I don't want to use auto layout here because it becomes complicated. I need a frame of 264 width and then 205 height and then white, and then I'll round the corners to 12. That's going to be for my shape. Then I'll need another frame which is going to be 280 long. So we have 2 frames now. The first one is going to be for picture. Let me change the color of that one. It's going to be for our picture, which is this one. Now let me do a little bit math. I'm coming. Alright, so I'll make this 280 by 280, the background. So now what is going to happen is this is going to be centered in the first one. I'll move it down 8 pixels. So 8 pixels at the top, 8 pixels at the left, and then 8 pixels on the right. Let's change the roundness to 16 and then 16. Now I guess you all know the reason why we like rounded corners. It makes it very friendly as compared to sharp edges. So that's one good thing. I'll come back to the image. Now we need our text over here. So South Island. I'll make this a semi-bold, and I'll create a second section. Now you know what? We'll pick this over here since it's the same thing. We'll pick this and then bring it here. Then we'll just try and resize them if they are not well sized. And then we'll type in the location, New Zealand. Oh, am I making mistakes? Then I'll reduce this and center this. Good. So again, I'll group these 2 elements using auto layout and then align them well, and then make this about 2 pixels. So this is good to go. Now let's make sure we have this aligned. You see the red lines, perfect. Next thing we need is the cost over here. So the $sign, where's my $sign? 1,200. That should also be about 18. And then we'll duplicate it and then have cost/month and then give that about 10 pixels. Again, because of hierarchy, we'll change this color to the blue and change this to our green. Alright, now let's align it again. Perfect. Now I want to reduce this a little bit, make this semi-bold. Alright, so we've created this component, and this is what we are going to duplicate for the second section. But before that, let's find an image from Unsplash. Alright, beautiful sea. Let me see the first one. You know, let me just, I'm not seeing anything I like here, so I'll just pick the first image I used over here. Where's this image? Sorry for being lazy. I want to create that for you to see. Let me just get an image. Come on, you give me something nice. Okay. This can do. Alright, so now we are going to create the glass thing over here with the rating and then the save action. So again, auto layout. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick this component over here and then reduce the font sizes and then the icon size as well, since this is not going to be. Now you realize what is happening to the icon. So we are going to go in and then edit these strokes ourselves. So I'm just going to make it 1 pixel and it should do. Next thing, we'll change this to white. Make this 10 pixels. Go to effects, change this to background blur, and then give it some good value depending on how it's looking in the design. And then I'll change this to 4.8 rating. This is supposed to be let me reduce this a little. Right, I'll duplicate this again. I'll delete this. Now you realize what happened. Automatically I get a circle. Oh boy, this is so nice. And then I can just change the icon in this to a save icon, or what you can call a bookmark icon. Alright, see, let me see, which one do I want? Something nice. Okay, this is okay. So when I delete this, I'll just change this to white. If you are here and you don't like auto layout, please change your mind, because it will save you a lot of time. So I'll reduce this to 20. 20. What I get? Okay, let me just 16. Okay, we can go with this for now. So this is me just aligning stuff to the value I like, but I still have to reduce this down a little to 32. Okay, good. So 12 pixels. Then we have our first card. Now this is one item. Okay, something is not in. So I'll move this in this. Alright, so we have this as one item. Perfect. So we'll just duplicate this and then break it in for the second card. Space it out 16 pixels. Now the next thing we need is the down section here, visited places, see all, and all that. Oh, we are running out of time. We might have to design just one screen. visited places, 14 pixels. That should do it. Then we'll have see all. Make this 12 pixels. Change it to the blue. Now, because I already have this card design, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my scale tool and then expand this. Now remember, at the beginning I mentioned that when you expand this, what is going to happen is the values are going to be in decimal, so you have to manually edit some of them. So just move that here and make sure it's within your grid. This is me being a lazy designer. Perfect. So we just go inside and then manually edit the values. I mean, when you're actually working on a project for a developer, you don't want it to be 12.6 and 12.5 and all that, so kindly take note of that. And I didn't teach you this, please. So 20. All right, next thing we need is our bottom navigation. How do we start that? Okay, how do I start that section? I'm going to create a frame 375 812, not 812, 88, sorry. Then I'll paste it over here. Now I need 4 icons, a home, I need discover or explore. I think one of them, let me check discover. Okay, discover. Then I need a profile. Sorry. I need a profile. Then I need a saved. All right, so now our active state is going to be with a text. So home is going to be with a text, and then I'll change this to 20 pixels to make a little auto layout. This now little, bring the spacing close. Then I'll change the fill to the light blue, and then give the padding values. Make this 100. I'll change our black to the primary color. Now we can move this here. So let's just expand this a little. Yeah, this is okay. Then I will bring this inside here, and then we'll connect it with this and then group them to stay within our grid. So let's look at our grid. Perfect. If you're wondering how I'm typing the values in, I already know it in my head, so you would have to manually do it and then see what best value would work for maybe this particular section. Okay, so we have this. Then we'll I'll just change this to our gray color. And then we have this. Now you're supposed to design 2 screens, but I don't think we have the time. So I wanted to do 2 screens and do prototyping, but there's not. So maybe we'll do a part 2 another time. But before we go, I'll just show you guys a little thing on prototype. We are going to, you see how when you're searching, when you hit a search field, you get this indicator blinking. We are just going to create that simple, and then we end our session for today. So probably maybe next time, if Michael invites me again, then we can continue our talk. Derek. So what was I going to do? Okay, yeah, the search thing. So I've already done this, but let me just walk you through the concept behind this. You know how we designed our search field over here, right? What I did was, this section has a line, so let me bring that line. All of them has a line. All of these have a line. Now for the inactive state, I turn off the opacity of that particular line because I don't want it to show to the user. And then when the user click, I show them the color of the line, or the indicator, as you might call it. Then it's going to animate between where the line is on and when the line is off. So for the third state, I'll turn this off again. Let me go by it again. On the first screen, you have the line on, off for the inactive state. So you turn the opacity off. Then for the second one, I turn the opacity on to 100 because when the user clicks, then the cursor is going to come on. And then when the cursor comes on, it's going to blink. So it's going to go on, off, on, off, on, off. That's the whole concept, right? So for my third state, I turn it off again. Now you might probably be wondering, why don't we just use 2 states? Reason being, it actually work. No. Reason being that on the first state, that's the inactive state, they would have to click first. So when we go to the prototype option, you realize that I have this connected as on tap. So when they tap the very inactive state, switch to the second state where the line is on. Now since we are using Smart Animate, it will cater for everything else. Switch to the second state where we have the active state. Then after 1 millisecond, switch to where we have the inactive, or when we have the cursor off. And then from there, when we have the cursor off backwards, we'll use after delay again. So let me just show you in the frame. Let's take away this and bring that design. And where's my preview? Good. So let me confirm if you can see clearly. So this is the inactive state. So when I click, the cursor comes, and then after 1 millisecond, it's going to toggle between the second state and then the first state, and then we have our blinking cursor. All right, so that'll be it for this.